know the brings coming.
You see, the objective here was to get this phone before my battery dies.
I know the brings coming.
We did it.
Know the brings coming. The brings coming.
You see, this feels like very different. I literally just started recording. You see, objectively, this is a very different feeling device than the 12 Pro. Like, this is a very hefty phone compared to the 12 Pro. Like, you feel the weight. It's like a brick in your pocket. Like, comparatively to the 12 Pro, it just feels like a completely different phone. But also, she thick. That's a thick ass boy. But it's like, I think the pièce de résistance, I don't know where to look. But it's like the main thing, I think the biggest upgrade, the biggest focus about this phone is largely the camera system. Like, this is a very big, substantial update to these cameras. And if I may go out on a limb, I think I'd say that this is probably the best camera system on a smartphone to date. Like, there's a lot of things that make me say that. Like, there's a lot of features and the whole entire experience that makes me get to that point. But I think like the biggest thing is probably just ProRAW. Now, truthfully, because I didn't make a 12 Pro review, I didn't talk about ProRAW. So we're just gonna talk about ProRAW now. Yeah, that's in focus. Sure. That's my new plant. She's a rubber plant. She's not rubber, but she's called a rubber plant. I like her a lot. Anyways, ProRAW. To sum up ProRAW, I think it is the most deep level integration of a RAW system in a smartphone that has ever been made. I think Tyler Stallman actually put it best when he was actually referring to red RAW footage. There's a thickness to the footage that you get out of a red camera. And I think similarly, that can be said about the RAW that you get out of a smartphone like this. See, not all RAW is created equal. I feel like I say this about a lot of different cameras, but that applies just as much to DSLR or mirrorless camera as it does to smartphone photography. Like, the thing with a lot of other RAWs in smartphones is like you can edit them up until a certain point, and then all of a sudden they start to get muddy, they start to get kind of artifacted, and it doesn't prove a quality RAW experience. That's where this phone really shines. That's where 12 Pro really shines, and more so 13 Pro, just because the cameras are better and the RAW experience is still just as great. But you see, the thing is, when you take a photo like this in RAW and import it, that went the wrong way, and you import it to Lightroom, the amount of information that you can edit and control with these RAW photos. See, I have confidence in the amount of data that is packed into a single image here. I have a whole bunch of photos that I've taken over the past couple of years with these Pro lines of devices in ProRAW that I have edited and just truly loved the experience of being able to edit to the way that I want. Like, I think generally the point of RAW, the point of photography in RAW, is that you can get these photos exactly to where you want them. Now, following suit, reasons that make this the most impressive camera setup, just the selection of lenses. This year we have a 3x telephoto. Last year on the regular smaller 12 Pro you only had 2x. On the Max you had 2.5, and this year across the board with Pro and Pro Max you have 3x telephoto. You do have two other really impressive lenses in addition to that. One actually doubles as two because the wide is also a macro lens. See, I can't necessarily say that I am the most apt to use a macro lens. I mean, it's it's higher quality than 2 megapixels, I'll give it that. But I think the thing is, like, for the occasions where you're like, ah, damn, I wish I had a macro lens, you have it now. Congratulations. I feel like I look weird. There we are. I feel like I look less terrifying now. But on the grand perspective, you now have a better quality ultra wide camera. Less distortion, less warp, less grain, less noise, less artifacting as well. Just a much better quality ultra wide. And also just your standard angle lens is also really fantastic. That is low-key the most used lens for me, and the quality that you get out of it. Like, I'm really impressed this year as to the quality of the photos that you get out of this system. I don't know, I'm thinking about doing some type of video in terms of like comparing and contrasting cameras on smartphones. Probably I'll wait till like the Pixel 6 is out, because I feel like that's gonna probably be the most natural competitor to this camera system. Moving on to the last two things that I think make this camera system the best camera system out there. It's finally cinematic mode, and also picture profiles. See, the thing with picture profiles is it's I guess the best way to explain it is kind of like using presets in Lightroom. It affects specific elements within the actual tonal quality of the photo as your live preview. But yeah, when you turn on your picture preset, you get, I use rich contrast. Rich contrast, we've been talking about this at the office a lot, but it's like, it's kind of the closest look to like, say like a pixel look. So your contrast is heavier, your shadows are darker. I feel like the colors are just richer. Like, you can change the tone and the warmth of your picture preset. I usually leave that off because I use RAW, which immediately turns off picture presets. But just for like sending a quick photo, say through iMessage or Instagram stories or whatever, like, you definitely can tell a difference with picture presets, which I think is gonna be a really big deal for the average person just taking a photo who doesn't wanna have to worry about editing in post. It's just a quick way to spruce up an image. But then finally, that leads us to cinematic mode. Okay, let's go outside. Don't mind this boom pole, Jesus, in my face. So cinematic mode, I hope you can hear me. Cinematic mode. I guess the best way I can describe this. Why did I go outside? She wants to know if she ruined the shot. And I said no, because I did a perfectly good job of that myself. Okay, so this is probably the best we're gonna do. Just pretend like we're outside, and it'll be fine. Why are you so saggy? So very saggy. No, as I was trying to say before, Jesus, they follow me. Cinematic mode. Cinematic mode is really like, I think the answer to not physically being able to put a big enough sensor into these small smartphones to be able to create like true cinematic depth of field. And basically, in layman's terms, like, depth of field is the blurriness behind your subject, or the ability to create like solid blurry foreground. Like, that is depth of field, and that's what a lot of people associate with being cinematic. Take that for what it is. But basically, like, this tries to either smart switch to your subject, or it just responds to you tapping. And again, like you can see here, I'm literally just tapping on my light, and then I'm tapping on the background, and it switches fairly subtly. And the isolation is pretty solid. Like, I feel like you don't want to put this on too big of a screen. But listen, dude, like, if you're just shooting this to put on social media, on your stories, your Instagram stories, like, this is a really fun feature that I think emulates something that a lot of people find to be really nice looking. And as an added benefit to a smartphone camera system like this, I think it's a really solid upgrade. Obviously, this is not only on the 13 Pro, this is on the regular 13. So no matter what 13 you get, you're covered and you're gonna be cinematic. But anyways, it's fun, it's cool, it's there. It's free with your $1,000 phone. But in addition, there is also ProRes video, which is not to be mistaken with cinematic video. Actually, ProRes video is only for the Pro lineup on the 13. I think my best way to explain ProRes video is quite literally just the fact that you're getting more information out of your footage. It's really intended, in my opinion, more so towards people who intend to edit that footage color-wise, because you're retaining a lot more information in terms of highlights, your shadows, and also just overall color depth in itself. So you're gonna be able to pull and push a whole lot more in post than you would just regular video on this guy. But again, to be seen. I'm excited to see if there is truly a difference, knowing it's Apple and also seeing ProRAW and the difference that you get there compared to your standard photo on this phone. I'm excited and optimistic. Again, not that it's raw video, because it's not, but you're gonna get more info and more quality. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. You should get a dbrand skin. Like this nice shade of pink. Perfect for the winter time. Or even these skins. So many of them. Do you know they also sell a case? Put a skin on that too. It also comes in this luscious packaging, fit for any device. Hey. So this is the final segment. So performance. This is the final chapter. It's performance. So battery life. Battery life is, I think, the thing I was most excited about entering into this phone, mostly because my battery life on the 12 Pro was hot garbage. Like, for reference, I think I'd barely make it through half a day. I'd probably have to charge it I don't know, 6 o'clock normally. But the thing that's great about this phone, and I know people throw around numbers and hours, and honestly, I don't really understand a lot of that. So all I'm gonna say is I usually end the day with 15-20%. I don't really think I'm a power user. I think I'm more of a casual to heavy casual user. I play Angry Birds on my phone and I watch YouTube videos sometimes. So now I can make it through the whole day, which is great. Now I will find you a number because I know people like that. Screen on, that's through last 6 days. Average screen on, that's battery, I'll show active, average. I don't know what any of these numbers mean. This is a huge step up over the 12 Pro, so there is that. But now you see, this is the part where I mention one of the big things that probably has the most impact on this battery, and that is the new screen. Alright, so ProMotion. You've probably heard of it, 120 hertz. iPhones up until this point have been locked in at 60 hertz. So this is a substantial upgrade from that. Now you may have seen some headlines, oh, Apple isn't letting third-party developers use 120 hertz on their apps yet. That was kind of true, but not really. From what I understand, that was actually kind of a bug, and apps in the near future, from what I understand, will be adopting 120 hertz. So that way you can scroll through Instagram or Twitter and it will look considerably smoother. As of right now, it's pretty much just system-wide animations. So flipping through pages, notification center, that kind of stuff. It's all very quick, all very smooth. Eventually that will be system-wide across third-party apps. Everything's gonna look great. But as of right now, you get 120 hertz sometimes, but not others. Now, I do think the natural question is probably like, okay, I give you a 60 hertz phone and you compare it to a 120 hertz phone, are you gonna see that much of a difference? Largely speaking, I think yes. Is it a deal breaker? Probably not. Honestly, with how great and how well optimized these animations are already on 60 hertz iPhones, like, you're still getting a very smooth experience. But in summation, like, I think the margins of human perception at this point are getting so minimal. Yeah, we can totally see the difference between 60 and 120, but we're kind of reaching peak iPhone at this point. These screens look fantastic, and 120 is a nice update, but I think on the whole, in terms of like a person's perception of refresh rate, we're kind of getting super marginal at this point. So yes, great feature to have. Does it make every single 60 hertz iPhone completely unusable? Absolutely not. Now, a couple other things about this screen. The notch is smaller. At this point, I feel like everyone's talked about this ad nauseum, but like, it's really just not as wide, but it's now a tiny bit longer. Now, honestly, you know, again, this has been beaten to, you're not really gaining all that much in terms of just stuff in the status bar or anything like that. It's simply a smaller notch. Now, as I mentioned before, it is a little bit taller. So if you're watching, say, like a 2:1 video on YouTube, it does cut in by about a hair, and I mean literally a hair. But you know, it's there. If you're gonna be looking at it, I guess it's annoying, but I will say, the one thing that is actually different, in my opinion, is the quality of the earpiece. Now, the earpiece for phone calls, it's when you call people on the phone, it's actually moved up now, so it's at the top of the phone. But in my experience, it's been a lot louder and also a lot clearer. So when I'm talking to my mom for like 2 hours, I can hear her screaming at me in higher definition. But it's like, as I mentioned before, we're really getting to peak screen. Everything from the refresh rate to just the overall brightness and vividness and just colorful nature of this panel, it's really a fantastic display. And then in tandem with an overall improved audio experience, from the earpiece to the overall immersive sound of this phone, it is considerably improved from last year's iPhone 12. But that leads me to the final thing about this review. And honestly, this thing feels like such a minor thing that will be fixed so soon that I feel like an asshole for even saying this, but like, there's just some weird bugs and features with this phone that I just find really questionable. Like literally sometimes like my time just doesn't show up on my home screen. Apps just like linger weirdly, like when I'm using the device. Like I wouldn't even bring this up if it wasn't for the fact that like I was running iOS 15 on my iPhone 12 for like the whole time, and I never had any of these bugs, and now all of a sudden with the new phone I have these bugs. But there's also just like this weird issue with like tapping to wake up the screen sometimes that just fails, like it just doesn't do it. And again, this will probably be stuff that gets fixed within like the next month or so, or like within the next software update. But you know, still thought it was probably worth just a quick mention. But it's like just saying that that's like the 1 or 2 minor gripes that I have with this phone just goes to show how much of a complete package this device is. I've been really thoroughly enjoying my time with this device, and I look forward to using it more and more over the next year. But again, like mainly, it's just that camera for me. That camera is so really freaking impressive. And again, just can't wait to keep using it every day. But hey there, stay tuned. Probably gonna make more videos about this in the future. I'm happy to be back on this channel for the first time in a while. I know this is something different and a little new, but hey, it's fun. I'm having fun. Hope you're having fun too. So yeah, with that, thank you all for watching this video. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye.